Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who figure review. In today's Doctor Who figure review I'll be taking a look at the USA Exclusive 13th Doctor figure with the blue t-shirt. For many months now us Doctor Who fans have been wondering when are we going to get the blue shirted 13th Doctor figure being released. Turns out it's a USA exclusive. So the way this video is going to work is I'm going to obviously do the packaging, articulation, detail, and then at the end I'm going to do a sort of comparison to the other 13th Doctor figures and quickly talk about the UK version and how it compares to the American version, because obviously there's only a few minor tweaks between these figures, and obviously seeing whether it's worth picking up if you're a UK fan, because this is priced at £28. It costs £28 and that includes import costs. So taking a look at the packaging for the US exclusive 13th Doctor figure. So if you have any of the other 13th Doctor figures from this wave of figures, then you basically know what to get with this packaging. So we've got the Doctor Who logo there, the style guide motif there of the TARDIS, the figure displayed in a nice window box so you can check for quality control. Again, we have the etched design of the TARDIS. A US exclusive, we have a massive red bar saying warning choking hazard, again with bag and sonic screwdriver accessory, the name of the figure. And taking a look at the back, again we have the other figures available in this range. So here we have the USA 13th Doctor out of the packaging, based from her appearance in Resolution, Orphan 55 and Can You Hear Me, I believe, because that's when she wears this sort of lighter blue jumper. So without further ado, let's look at the articulation for this figure, then we'll go on to the detail. So taking a look at the articulation for the 13th Doctor figure, so the head can do a full 360-degree turn, and of course the 13th Doctor figure has a slight ball joint, so the head can tilt ever so slightly, and of course can look up, and of course look down, because if it was to have the traditional sort of neck joint it wouldn't really fit, so I think that the ball joint was a good move by Character Options. The arms can do full 360-degree turn, 360 at the bicep, bend at the elbow, 360-degree turn at the wrists. We do have waist articulation which can move ever so slightly but is sort of hindered by the coat. The legs are on a T-crotch joint so they can kick out and kick to the side, but again is hindered by the coat, and bend at the knee. So taking a look at the detail for the 13th Doctor figure, so we take a look at the hair. So the hair is done really well, and I have to say that compared to the original 13th Doctor figure, this is a vast improvement. This looks a lot more realistic, a lot more blonde, and how her hair looks in the actual show. We've got the detailing of the individual strands of hair. You can see the faint detailing there, which is done really well, and we've got the sort of hair overlapping to give it that sort of sense of depth, which is done really well. And on the back you can see all the different strands of hair and where the hair naturally falls, which is done excellently. And again we've got sort of a slight sort of brown wash by her sort of side parting to give that sort of indication of where Jodie Whittaker's roots are, which is done excellently. And again we've got the slight sort of quiff there, and where the hair is slightly tucked behind the ear, and you get the detailing of the strands of hair, which is done really well. So moving to the head sculpt itself, again we've got the great detailing of the earrings on her ear, and the paint apps are pretty sharp actually, and there's no paint bleed, so that makes it very crisp. But moving to the likeness now, I have to say over the past few years Character Options have really upped their game for likenesses, and I feel like Jodie Whittaker is a superb likeness. I feel like the eyes on mine are a little bit too spaced out, but I think that it still looks like Jodie Whittaker. I think that it is a very good likeness to Jodie actually. You've got the sort of definition of the cheekbones there, just, you know, we've got the slight dimples by the lips, which is great little attention to detail. And it just looks absolutely amazing. I really do like the likeness for Jodie Whittaker, and again we've got a sort of collarbone detailing there. Moving to the costume now, we have this sort of lighter blue sort of shirt, and again we've got the sort of trademark 13th Doctor rainbow pattern, which is continued on the outside of a jacket, which is all good attention to detail with no paint bleed, so it makes it very sharp and crisp. We have the braces beautifully rendered on the figure. So taking a look at the bag accessory, we've got the faint detailing of the zips there, and the zip going all across the bag itself. And that's been sort of done in a sort of a gloss finish plastic, and of course it is removable, but I'm not going to bother removing it because it's a bit of a hassle, but you can unclip it at the back because it's just pegged in if you want to remove that like so. The jacket itself is done really well. We've got a sort of a nice sort of blue finish to it. It looks almost white on camera, but it does have a bit of more of a blue tinge to it. We've got the pockets sculpted there, the nice creasing details on the sleeve, and again these nice section details going along there, and the seam detail again continued on the inner sleeve of her jacket. And then we've got a nice sort of creasing effect where the coat would naturally fall to give it that lifelike effect, and again we've got the nice blue trim. So take a look at the back of the coat now. We've got the detailing of the sort of navy lining of the 13th Doctor's hood, and again the hood sort of folded up there, which is done really well to give it that sort of lifelike effect where it naturally falls off the coat. The trousers, so the thigh section I believe are Martha Jones legs, and then the bottom half are newly sculpted, so we've got again the seam detailing there and the nice creasing detail to give it a lifelike effect, and we've got the trousers slightly rolled up, and then we've got the sort of boots there which are done really well, and the socks poking out. I have to say that the boot detailing is done really well. We've got sort of a nice sort of dark brown base colour, then a sort of a light brown wash to give it that sort of weathered and dirty look and that sort of worn look to it, and again we've got the nice lace detailing there and the sort of boots tag on the back there, and you can see where the boots been cobbled together. So that is really good attention to detail. Moving on to accessories now, the 13th Doctor comes with a trusty sonic screwdriver, of course. We've got the emitter painted, and we've got the nice sort of glowing sections of the bottom of the sonic there glowing, which is done really well. And we've got the sort of faint detailing of the panel detailing there, which is done really well for the scale. So I feel like Character Options did a good job considering the scale of the actual screwdriver, and to capture some nice little bit of detailing there on the actual screwdriver itself. And of course that just slots into the 13th Doctor's hand like so. But I will say that this is sort of a problem with every 13th Doctor figure, not just the USA exclusive, but she can't really point her sonic. It just looks a little bit weird, unless you want to pose her like she's reading, you know, the readings off a sonic screwdriver. But you know, Jodie's very much sort of a person who sort of almost brandishes like the sonic screwdriver like a wand, so I feel like the articulation kind of limits the movement as well. Like if the arms are ball jointed, then you can do the sort of traditional 13th Doctor's, you know, outlandish poses with the sonic. So moving on to the comparison section of this review, so I'll be comparing it to the original 2018 release there, and obviously the UK version from the 13th Doctor wave, and of course the US exclusive. So let's take a closer look at the differences. So taking a look at the paint apps on the face. Now I have to say that Character Options have done a brilliant job in refining the paint apps compared to the original 13th Doctor. You know, the hair just seems way too off when you look at it compared to the others. It doesn't seem as blonde as what it is in the programme. You know, it does feel very sort of almost white and doesn't almost represent what Jodie looked like in Series 11. You know, so if we take a look at the other two, so this is obviously the UK version and the US one. I will say that the paint apps on mine, I feel like, especially on the UK version, just seems a lot more realistic. You know, the eyes just look a lot more better and don't look too spaced out, so I feel like the UK version in terms of quality, in terms of the paint apps, this could just be mine, but I feel like the paint apps just seem a little bit more crisper and a lot more better on the UK version compared to the US version itself. Obviously the main difference for this figure is obviously the sort of t-shirt. Obviously the US version is blue, and obviously the UK version is sort of the more sort of reddy pink version what she wears. But the bum bag is slightly different. As you can see, that the US version has a slight more sort of gloss finish to it compared to the more matte finish of the UK version, and also sort of the lining of the coat seems a bit more darker compared to the UK version. Also the coat seems a little bit lighter on the US version. It's not really coming up on camera, but it is slightly lighter compared to the US version. The boots have a bit more weathering and have a bit more of a gloss finish to them on the US version compared to the UK version. Also the sonic screwdrivers have a slightly different paint finish to them. Obviously the US version has sort of more of a yellow sort of emitter compared to the UK version with the more orange finish to the emitter itself. But yeah, those are only sort of the slight differences, but the main difference obviously being the t-shirt on the figure itself. So let's do my overall thoughts on the US exclusive 13th Doctor figure. So what are my concluding thoughts on the 13th Doctor light blue USA exclusive figure? Well, I have to say that I do like this figure, maybe because that's my personal preference of the 13th Doctor sort of standard costumes, excluding the sort of the Haunting of Villa Diodati or Spyfall. Out of the sort of traditional sort of t-shirt look for the 13th Doctor, I personally prefer the sort of lighter blue finish because it sort of matches the TARDIS and feels very doctory. You know, this figure is essentially a repaint and is a US exclusive, so let's talk about the numbers of this figure. So if you are to get this figure from, you know, from the US to the UK, you know, the figure's priced at $19.99, so that's roughly about £15.20, and obviously the UK version is $12.99, I believe. And obviously you'll pay additional £13 for the shipping, and that includes import costs. So if you are worried about, you know, that you'll be charged extra once it reaches the UK, you don't have to worry. The import costs are already included in the postage itself. So this is an exclusive figure, like I said, so obviously you are going to pay a little bit extra. So is it worth the £28? Well, I think that it all factors down to what type of collector you are, whether you like to get the little variants of the 13th Doctor, because I personally really do like it. It makes a really nice little display piece for the sort of reconnaissance Dalek, and you can sort of do scene recreations from resolution. You know, and obviously if you're a fan of the 13th Doctor, then you'll want to get this. But if you're a person who just wants a 13th Doctor on the shelf, then I guess the UK version will do a good job. You know, it definitely does stand out on the shelf. Obviously the more sort of burgundy, sort of pinkish top, it definitely does seem more vibrant and pops on the shelf. And like I said, the paint apps do seem a lot more crisper on the UK version and does seem a lot more like Jodie Whittaker. But I will say that character options have definitely improved on these two 13th Doctor figures compared to the 2018 version with the hair. But again, the figure still suffers the same problems what the original release has, you know, sort of not being able to point and the sonic screwdriver, much like the 11th Doctor. He could never really truly point his sonic screwdriver, and I feel like the lack of ball joints in terms of the articulation sort of makes this sort of figure seem quite limited, you know, because the 13th Doctor and the way Jodie Whittaker sort of uses the sonic screwdriver, it's much like how she's using like a wand, you know, but she's very sort of over exaggerates the movement of it, and obviously the figure, you can't really replicate those sort of movements really. But again, that's more down to the actual figure itself, not the US version. But I will say that the problems the 13th Doctor figure has in terms of articulation and sort of posing for sonic screwdriver, the character options have made up for with the paint apps, the more refined paint apps on the head sculpt, to make it seem even more realistic to how the 13th Doctor is in the actual TV show itself. So would I recommend this figure? If you're a completist, then absolutely do go for it. But if you're a person who just, you know, buys the odd figure here and there and isn't too fussed on the different sort of t-shirt colour, then I can see this being an easy pass. But again, I think that this all boils down to what type of figure fan you are, whether you're a completist and you'd like to have little oddities on the shelf and you can go, oh, that's a US exclusive, you know, stuff like that really. You know, so I feel like this is a good figure. I feel like this has, you know, the same, you know, merits as any other 13th Doctor figure. The light blue t-shirt, I really do like. It does have that sort of very doctory vibe. You know, I feel like what would have made this figure even more desirable for many people is if they included sort of the resolution scarf. That would have been a lovely addition to have, and made this figure maybe make this figure sell more, but obviously that would up the cost of the figure. But I definitely would see people paying a little bit extra to get the scarf as well. So that concludes this review. I hope you have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next figure review, which will be a review of the Chase Guard Dalek figure in preparation of the movie Daleks coming up. Well, not movie Daleks, the Jungles of Mechanus set. So thank you very much for watching this review, and I'll see you next time. So thank you very much, and goodbye.